Just saw your new music video. I Deserve It. I liked it. I like it. Real I like how y'all flipped that beat.
Thank you.
Missy Elliott produced it?
No, actually myself and Chucky Thompson, who I've worked with since my first album. Chucky, he gave me that beat a long time ago, and I started writing to it, and I just never finished, and my daughter finished writing it, so I got Missy on it.
Wow, so your daughter actually finished that song for you.
Exactly. And then recently I had to do a version without the rap for like stations that won't play rap, some urban AC stations, and I was out of town, and I called my daughter like, I need you to write a bridge and lay it down for me real quick so I could go in the studio. So she's kind of like my go-to guide lately.
So is your daughter, going to be seriously going into music? Is this something that you pushed her to do, or she pushed herself to do?
Definitely not pushing for that. But my daughter, China was always around me, always in the studio, always on the road with me when she was my only child. And her dad is a producer, so it's kind of like she just got it honest. But she taught herself how to play keyboards probably starting at around age 6 or 7. And then from that, I, started buying her little equipment and stuff. And she's a bona fide, full-out producer, engineer, writer, and singer. So she definitely wants to be an artist as well. But she's very proficient, on the boards as well, in terms of the technical side. She's like me if I sat still long enough to do the technical part of what I do.
Now, the one thing that was a little bit shocking to me was Ice JJ Fish made a cameo in the video.
Yes, I was happy about that. I love Ice JJ Fish. Listen, my homeboy, my MD, used to show me his clips online and stuff. And so when Derek Blanks, who directed the video, said, hey, do you know who, he said his name wrong, you know who JJ Fish is? I said, you mean Ice JJ Fish? I was like, yeah, I know who he is. Like, I'm up on it, But I thought it was really refreshing, because I really just enjoy his spunk. Like, he just be like, whatever, he fearless with his. So I thought it would be real cute to have him have the comedic element. When Missy and Sharaya actually came up with the idea to kind of knock off the Coming to America type of feel for the video. So, immediately it started coming together. And when Derek mentioned him, I'm like, oh, he could totally be, singing to me, in the video. So I thought it would be cute and funny at the same time. I know he was kind of pissed. He was kind of pissed when they told him he had to fall down and act like he got knocked out, though. I remember Ice JJ was like, listen, I didn't sign up for this.
How would you rate Ice JJ's Fish singing from an actual singer's perspective?
Oh, you know what? That's funny because I have a really hard time comparing and measuring talent or people's appeal. You know what I'm saying? Because I look at it from a perspective of it's not always something technical. If somebody finds a way to connect with people and find an audience for what they do, then, most of the time I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is it that they like about them? Even whether it's rappers, singers, whatever. With my kids, even I ask them, what do you like about this artist? So I don't really tend to rate and judge singers and, because talent, I don't know. It's something that I can't really measure. You know what I'm saying? Although I am a singer, but some people just have a certain something with them that you can't really say, okay, this person does this better, this person does that better. They just do what they do. And for some, find a way to find an audience for it. So, I totally, again, respect his fearlessness. I mean, if we were in the studio together, to be honest with you, yeah, I might be like, okay, I think this is a little pitchy, or you might could do this part better if we were actually recording a song. But I think what he brings is just, it's a little bit more, if I dare to say it, kind of his own swag about what he does. You feel me?
When you said do a song together, I'm picturing a Faith Evans Ice JJ Fish collabo in my head.
See, you said that now. I didn't say that. I said if we ever were to be in the studio together. I mean, I'm not saying I never would, but I mean, that hasn't been something that I'm not in the studio working with Ice JJ Fish right now. I do enjoy his video clips. And he's a cool guy. He was really cool.
Stevie J and Jocelyn were in the video as well.
Yes. Stevie is my brother. I love him.
Okay. I know he was, producing a lot of the Bad Boy stuff. Was he producing your stuff as well?
I think Stevie may have co-produced "Missing You," I think, and probably some of the stuff on my second album. But he didn't do anything like on my first album. I think of the time that Stevie was with Bad Boy may have been the time that I was kind of trying to do other stuff. Like by the time my third Bad Boy album came, I was in LA just trying to work with people outside of the in-house producers, because I had done that and always, just taking tracks from the in-house producers. But I feel like maybe on Missing You and a couple of the feature things I did with other Bad Boy artists Stevie produced, but not so many of my solo songs. But actually Stevie is he was one of the people that was supposed to be my son CJ's godfather. And when right before I had CJ, or right before I found out I was pregnant with CJ, I remember there was a time when I wanted to purchase a house. I was renting this, expensive apartment in the city, and I wanted to buy me a house in South Jersey. So I was waiting for my next advance from my record deal or my publishing deal, which I knew was coming, but I needed to come up with like $150,000 to put down on this house. And Stevie J was one of the two people who actually loaned me the $75,000 that I needed to put down on that house. I mean, knowing that, of course, he got it back, knowing I was going to pay it back. But I mean, to me, I was just like, he always got a special place in my heart, because I sure enough needed that, and I needed to make a move. It was just, that was a crucial time for me. So he played a very, very important part. And not only that, we've always kept in touch, over the years. Everybody especially from Bad Boy, we're very much family. I still feel that way about everybody.
I've known Stevie for a while, definitely not as long as you, but Stevie has always, the Stevie on TV is pretty much the Stevie that I've known for a while.
Exactly.
Like, do you remember some of the craziest things that Stevie J was involved in, like back then during the Bad Boy days?
You know what? I back then, aside from my studio sessions and just seeing people in the offices and in the studio, I didn't hang out like a whole lot with the crew then. Like I don't know if you recall, like they did that big Bad Boy tour with Jodeci, Mary, and everybody. I didn't go on that. I wasn't really that person. I always had, my daughter, and it was more about, for me back then, I hung out a little bit more than I do now, but definitely it wasn't typically with them. I'm never one that really got involved in people's personal lives and stuff like that. I mean, I'm very much family, and they welcome to come to my house, but I've heard a lot of crazy stories, but to be honest, I can't say I've witnessed any. The main thing I remember about Stevie that comes to my mind was that at the time, his then, I guess, girlfriend or fiance, but his older children's mom, they used to always come in Daddy's house with their new furs. Like, I'm like, every day they seemed like she had a new fur coat from Stevie J in a new color. Then I remember briefly the time that he dated Eve as well, because Eve and I did a song together, and I think that was around the time they were dating. But, nothing super crazy that I've witnessed, But he's definitely always been the same personality that people see on TV, like you said.
I mean, do you watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta?
Of course. I love Ratchet TV.
What's your take on Stevie J and Jocelyn's relationship?
My take on it? If he's happy and she's happy, then I think that's their relationship to cultivate and enjoy. If those are the two people that God put in each other's lives to live, to take this journey together, then I'm very happy for him and her. I don't know Jocelyn very well, but I did meet her at the video shoot. And I don't know if, obviously she must kind of know that he and I are like family, because I didn't feel any funny vibe from her, or anything like that. But, I think she knows that we're family. But, although I don't get to see Stevie a lot, we do keep in touch. I'll text him every other month or something just to say, how you doing, bro? And vice versa. Or I'm in town, let's try and hook up. So I'm happy for him. I hope that whatever their path is in their career, that God, continues to bless them, and that they take all these blessings in the right way and use them in the right way.
Yeah, and I heard they're getting a spin-off show, him and Jocelyn.
Oh, I heard that as well. But, sometimes you don't know if it's true. I didn't hear an official announcement, but I have heard that.
You and Biggie got married, shortly after you guys met. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually got married now, so I can make sure I continue to correct it, which I've always done. But people tend to say 7 days. I don't know who made that up, but we actually got married more like 2 months, maybe a little less than 2 months after we started hanging out and talking. But it definitely wasn't 7 days. Now, I'm not saying that 2 months is, a nice courting period before you marry someone, but it wasn't a week. It was probably like 7 weeks, something like that.
What made you guys decide that, that you guys should get married as opposed to, continue to date?
Well, we were young. We definitely, had a very quick, we definitely fell in love very quickly. But we were moving fast because we were young and we weren't thinking it out like that. We didn't know he was about to blow up like that and that my record was going to do well. We were both signed as artists, but neither one of us had necessarily, seen success yet. So we just weren't thinking and moving fast, and we knew we were in love. And he said, "I want to marry you." And I said, "When?" He said we could do it now, and I said, "Well, let me ask my friend who just got married upstate New York." He said it didn't take much, so within a week or two after he said that, we were married. But that wasn't when we met, so maybe that's where that story came from, the 7 days. But yeah, I mean, he told me he wanted to marry me after a couple of weeks of us hanging out, So it seemed like a great thing to do. I mean, I'm not mad I did. He's certainly my first true, love of my life. So I'm not mad at it.
You both had daughters at the time as well. Do you think that was part of the connection?
Maybe so. And, I think Big, I can definitely say I was attracted to his, first of all, sense of humor. That was the first thing that even caught my attention about him, aside from his confidence, because I didn't know this guy. We met at a photo shoot, and it was just him, myself, and Craig Mack and Puff there. And I think we were waiting for Total to see if they were coming. I don't know. But by the time we started shooting, he had struck up conversation. He saw me looking at some photos I had just got developed, and it was like maybe my daughter's birthday party, I think. And he asked, he had jotted my number down, and I didn't know it off the little envelope from the photo place. So by the time we left the photo shoot and he asked me could I drop his friends off, him and the guys off to Brooklyn, he had already taken my phone number. So I didn't know that until he got out the car. And I think also he was a little intrigued by the fact that he saw me at this photo shoot with Hurricane G, who at the time was down with the Hit Squad, Eric Sermon's daughter's mom. She was a good friend of mine, and she had come with me to this photo shoot. So he probably was like, well, now how does she know her? Because he knew Gloria from Brooklyn, but I'm from Jersey, a church girl. You know what I mean? So he was probably trying to figure out my connection as well. But before, the industry, Redman and I, were really cool. So I knew Red already. So that's how I knew Gloria. So Big was probably like, dang, she knows her way around Brooklyn. She knows her. So he just was striking up conversation, and I think he was probably attracted to the fact that I kind of, from what it seemed to him, obviously had something going on for myself. Like even aside from being a signed artist to Bad Boy, he said he used to see me at the studio, but he thought I was somebody's, a session singer or something. But all that time I was, writing songs. Puff had me working on Mary's My Life album, Usher's first album, and a few other projects before my first album started being recorded. So he kind of saw that I had a little hustle and grind in me and had my little car, and we were cracking jokes the whole way to Brooklyn. So when I dropped him off, he told me he was going to call me, and I didn't, I ain't give him my number, but he called me later on that day. So he had taken my number. So I thought that was pretty cute, and that kind of was flattering and attractive. So we just started talking, and I started going to Brooklyn, and every day it would be, oh, what we going to eat today? Or, that's pretty much how our thing started.
I read through your book, and one of the stories that kind of stood out to me was you had found a Polaroid of a girl in Biggie's car, and you managed to look up her phone number and find out where her address is, and you went to this girl's apartment and beat her up.
Well, I didn't. Okay, yeah, there's layers to that story.
This is not hearsay. This is from your book.
Yeah, that's very true. But the funny thing is, which I also said, that we left from Puff's son's Justin's christening and jumped in a cab to go to this girl's house. Oh boy. But yeah, that was my wild and crazy days. Yeah, that's very true. But it wasn't by myself. And I didn't go and put the schmurder on the girl or nothing. I actually had some accomplices, and we didn't probably even really hit her that much. I think it was just the whole scaring. That was just out of line. I ain't about to sit here and say that was cool to do at all. I mean, I know that was so out of line. I've done so many, especially in that few year period right there with this guy Big. I definitely did some things and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, with, some near death situations, like somebody could have done anything to me. What was I doing? I was just a little too bold, a little too bold when it came to that man in my heart. But, you live and you learn, and thank God I knew then it was wrong. I knew that it was something that I would certainly have to, deal with karma, on. And, I think and knowing that and embracing it and getting past it and knowing that I would never do most of those things again, But yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I just wanted to show him because he used to do stuff like that to me and my platonic friends, or just because. So, it was kind of a tit for tat type of thing.
Oh, so Biggie beat up some of your male friends?
Well, he didn't, but he actually one time, which is also in my book, one of my friends that I knew from church, and he lived in our neighborhood when we finally got our apartment in Brooklyn. And he knew I knew a lot of people from church over there, but I think we had an argument about something else. And this one day I was going to pick my daughter up from the babysitter in Brooklyn around the corner from me and Big's place. And my friend from church, who hadn't seen me since China was born, he saw us and he was like, "Oh my God, let me see the baby." Da, da, da. So we're just outside of the babysitter's building talking, and he's holding China, and Big drives by with his homeboys. And just because we were already, kind of pissed with each other. We had an argument probably before I left the house. I don't even know what it was about. But he just pulled up. He asked the dude, could he hold, let me see China? He didn't say many words at all. And then before I knew it, his friends jumped out the car and started beating my friend up in the middle of the street in Brooklyn. I was so embarrassed. And I felt horrible because, I know Big didn't do it because he thought there was something going on with me and the guy. He just did it because, yeah, I was really mad. I was so mad at that. And embarrassed again, like I said, because I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I do not need the church to be talking about this. But, I actually helped him. I took him back to our apartment so he could get a towel and stuff because he was bleeding and everything. And I just felt bad, and I just said, I just apologized profusely to him. And, that was it. That's probably the last time I saw him.
In the book, you also talked about the situation where you actually walked in on Big in a hotel room and he had a girl there and you beat the girl up that time.
That time I definitely did lay hands. I did. And I didn't walk in. I didn't, she opened the door. So I just immediately started hitting her because I already knew something was up because, he gave himself away by calling me to tell me I'm not going to be in my room. I'm letting such and such. Like, come on, kid, good and well. That does not sound convincing. What are you? And I'm in another state, so of course I had to call my homegirl and ask her to watch my daughter. I had it all mapped out. I'm like, it's a 6 a.m. flight going to Virginia Beach. Take me 45 minutes to get there. They ain't gonna be awake and checking out. I had it all mapped out, and I got there, got all that done, came back on the next flight, and all of that before 10 a.m. I was back in Brooklyn by 10 a.m. By 12 noon, Big was back in Brooklyn looking for me too.
How badly did the girl get beat up?
I don't know, because I didn't really stop. I didn't stop for a second. I just was going in and looking at him every once in a while. I look at him and he's just sitting on the bed shaking his head. That's when he was like, I didn't even fuck her. That's why I was like, you should have. That is all very, very, very true. I remember that as clear as day. And by the time I was done hitting her, all the guys had come. He done called everybody from their room, C's and L, whoever else was out of town with him, all just standing there looking at me. But I was putting my coat on to leave by then. I was like, bye, y'all. I'm done.
So you basically left her in the room bleeding.
I sure did. I think, I know what it was. One of her homegirl must have been in the room with one of the guys. So by then her friend came, but I'm already on my way to the elevator. There was nothing they could do. They wasn't going to do nothing to me.
In the book, You know, you said that Biggie actually admitted to you that he was having a relationship with Kim, you know, the whole time, like for years.
After I asked him, but I didn't know anything about them for this is probably at least a year and a half after, you know, we were together. So I didn't know anything about them. I didn't even think anything about them, to be quite honest.
You know, I mean, it's one thing when, you know, Big went on the road and, you know, had groupies and so forth, but how much of a shock was it to have, you know, Kim, who I guess, you know, you had gone to the gym with her and, you know, you were around her and so forth, you know, to find out that they were having an affair for, you know, over a year?
It was pretty shocking, but I mean, just to be clear, I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, she befriended me or something. To be honest, she probably wasn't feeling the whole idea of him telling me to, you know, go shopping. We didn't spend a whole lot of time together, but we did hang out a few times, you know. And I do recall one time with him finding out she was at our apartment and he telling me that's not cool. But I mean, none of that, why wouldn't it be cool? You know what I mean? So anyway, you know, but still, when you're not looking for sometimes when you ain't looking for stuff, you just ain't going to see it. I mean, you know what I mean? I wasn't looking for that to be the case. So I wasn't looking at anything that may have been a clue, because that just was the first thing from my mind. It was a shock, but I think it was more so a shock that the way I even started questioning it was because she got on the radio and was speaking about his and my relationship, which was just uncharacteristic because he didn't really play that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just kind of strange to me. Like, I know he didn't tell. Like, you know what I mean? That just doesn't make sense. Like, if anything, he would be like shutting you down. You know, like, watch your mouth. Keep your mouth closed. That just seemed really strange to me. So I'm like, why would she be talking about our marriage? But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it was a shock, but it wasn't the first person I found out that he was messing around with. It was just that it was her, and that I just thought it was the artist thing. So, you know, whatever. But by that time, you know, we were going through it, you know, because of a bunch of other women and, you know, a lot of other situations. So,
how did you feel the first time that you watched the Get Money video and they had like a Faith lookalike in the video?
I remember that Un actually called me and asked me to be in that video. I specifically remember, and me and Big were, you know, I wasn't speaking to him, so I was like, no, like tell him to ask his girlfriend. Like, I was on some, you know, like just really how we were dealing with each other at that time, immature and, you know, stubborn, but at the same time, I was like, why am I going to be in the video for? We were cool. We were together during the time he recorded that record. I remember probably stopping by the session. So the song was certainly not about me. It was really weird because little things, every once in a while, he would say maybe one thing in a song that seemed applicable. So you might think it's a real true story. But the only thing true about that was that I had a tattoo on my titty saying B.I.G. You know what I mean? But I didn't used to be at the house playing the Nintendo and answering the phone. You know what I mean? Like that was all, you know, that was all another story. Now maybe that was about Tiffany. I don't know. But, you know, he would always put certain things in songs that would make you think it's true or make the listener think it's a true story. But there's one real element that really, you know, ties in with me. But yeah, because the song wasn't about me and Un knew that at the time people were trying to say that because we had separated, he thought it would be dope if I was in the video, which it probably would have been, you know, kind of just to let people understand like, nah, he's not trying to go in on me. But at the same time, because he and I weren't cool for our personal issues, I didn't want to do it, you know, so I didn't do it.
You said that at a white party, you actually walked up to Kim and congratulated her on her success, and she said, "Who's that?"
Yeah, I did.
Do you think that Kim actually didn't know who you were, or do you think that that was just, you know, shade at that point?
I definitely think it was shade. I'm sure she knows pretty much what I look like. But it's okay. I mean, I was coming from a good place, you know, so it's all good. I was actually very sincere about, you know, congratulating her. I think that was around the time she had just done the Dancing with the Stars. And so, you know, I saw her walking by and just said, let me go up to her and, you know, get her attention and congratulate her. But I guess they were trying to move in the other direction and, you know, she wasn't really, whatever.
Another really interesting thing that I read in your book was the whole process of recording with Tupac. So I guess the way it was laid out was you didn't know Tupac was actually signed to Death Row at the time.
I did not.
And he had called you to do a chorus on the song Wonder Why They Call You Bitch.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what song it was until I actually got to the studio. But yeah.
Okay. Can you describe that situation? You know, going to the studio and then what happened afterwards at the hotel room?
Describe it. I mean, pretty much it's exactly what, like I said in my memoir. I mean, I went to the studio. I realized there were a bunch of Death Row people there. So kind of in my mind, it all started kind of figuring it out. I started figuring it out like right there. Like, okay. So, I mean, I played it off and played it cool, even though I didn't think, you know, that was a good look just because of the fact of the Suge and Puff situation. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't really know a lot of the details about what happened, but it was clear that he took a jab at Puff at the Source Awards and stuff like that. But I was pretty oblivious to a whole lot of the things that had gone on prior to that, you know, until probably a few years later. You know what I mean? So, I just played it cool because I'm a people person, and some of the people I had seen before or seen in passing or knew who they were, so I gave them respect, gave them a dab, Corrupt, whoever, you know, smoking with people, drinking a Budweiser, just trying to, you know, be cool in the moment to get the thing done, you know what I mean? But not definitely thinking about, like, I know this probably looks crazy. They probably looking at me like, what am I doing here in this situation? But, you know, in my mind and in my heart, I knew that you know, I didn't really know what I was walking into. You know what I'm saying? So that was probably definitely one of the few times that being so so headstrong and so I'm gonna go get it done on my own, and so I can go by myself and make it happen. I mean, that's one of the times it didn't serve me so well. You know what I'm saying? Because it was definitely it was a bad choice, but I didn't know that until then. You know, had I known the things I know, I probably definitely wouldn't have done the song with him. I definitely wouldn't have gone in the studio to record anything that was related to Death Row Records at that time, whoever the artist was. It just, you know what I'm saying, period.
After you recorded, you know, you were owed $25,000 for the session, and you said that you went to Pac's hotel room and, you know, he basically asked for oral sex at that point.
Well, in a very surprising and offensive way, for sure. But I mean, by that time, I think it was, you know, it was pretty clear to me that it, you know, that was all kind of it seemed to me that was kind of like a plan. You know what I mean? Like you've been kind of like I kind of allowed myself to be played and allow myself to get into this situation because this is totally not how I operate. That ain't how I do business. And that was never even, you know, up for discussion as far as that being an exchange. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it was about. My whole point for being in LA was and not going on that bad boy tour was to be out there making my money. I've very much always been about the coins. So, you know, it was no way I was about to have done that and have myself do that song, feel the way I felt on the inside, and probably look to those people without getting some money when it's all said and done. So that was my ultimate goal. And by that time, it was tight. It was tight.
You actually started singing in church when you were what, like 2 or 3 years old?
Yeah, probably about closer to 3, because I know, you know, I used to sing a lot when I wasn't really fully able to really say words clearly. But I think it was probably around 3 when I actually sang my first song in front of the congregation at church.
There's a lot of people out there in the world who have aspirations to do music, you know, who sing in church, who sing in school and go to talent shows and so forth. What do you think was the one thing that allowed you to kind of go from, you know, being an aspiring singer to actually breaking into the music industry?
I would not be able to ever tell you that because I really have no idea other than God and my consistent drive to be a singer. Now, it's not like I grew up thinking I was going to be a recording artist. So, But I always knew that I was going to be a singer somewhere. You know, at one point I thought I might end up being in the hotel lounge, you know, with a band making cool money. Like, I heard that people that sing jingles and commercials made a lot of money. So, but I always sang somewhere, whether it was church, school. I sang with the jazz band at school as well as the chorus. I did weddings, funerals, retirement parties. I mean, I would be at the airport family day singing, you know, Week Park, everything. So I was going to be singing for sure. And then once I realized I had the talent to actually write songs and, you know, the harmonies and all that stuff, I was pretty proficient at recording myself way before, excuse me, I was an actual recording artist. You know, I just used to enjoy those things. You know, I was always around it, you know, even doing little gospel records and stuff. But when I actually got offered a deal by Puff, to be honest, I was just there to take my daughter's dad to the studio. They were actually trying to get a song placed on Usher's album, which Puff was executive producing at that time, Usher's first album. So I wasn't even there in the capacity of looking for a record deal. He needed someone to sing one line, and they knew that I could sing, so they called me out the lounge and one or two lines. But I'd already, again, been writing and arranging stuff around my little friends, Christopher Williams' little camp, who I used to, my daughter's dad was a part of his production crew. So, you know, it was just something I was good at, but I wasn't walking around the hallway singing at the top of my lungs so everybody could hear me. So when I went in and did these two lines and rearranged them, I asked him, Mr. Puff, you mind if I change it around a little bit? And I did, and I added all my arrangements and harmonies. And when I came out, he asked me, did I want to sign his new label? Like, just like that. But that was, of course, after years of me doing my quote-unquote grind, but I didn't know what the big grand scheme was. The plan wasn't, oh, I'm going to get a record deal. It was just, I love doing this, and I know I'm kind of good at it, so I'm going to just do as much of it as I can, whether it's in the studio, whether it's, you know, at the church, at the, you know, whatever. So, it just kind of happened. Whereas it sounds like it was just real easy, but no, I used to get whoopings for sneaking out the window to go sing somewhere or to go record in somebody's studio somewhere where I shouldn't have been. So, you know, it definitely was a big plan that God had for my life. But, you know, it was, I didn't see it. I didn't see it becoming that. So I can't really say I did X, Y, and Z other than staying totally committed to wanting to be better at singing, at recording, you know. Not even knowing that would end up being my career, you know. I mean, it is a blessing. I would say it's a blessing before luck, but you know, luck is, you know, usually something that's like, dang, I really didn't even. Oh my God, that came so easy, you know. That was just luck. Like, no, it was. It ended up being a nice, you know, a nice thing to happen in a quick moment from the time I met Puff, but at the same time, you know, I was, again, sang my first song at 3. So for those years between the ages of 3 and 20, however old I was when I first met Puff, that's 17 years of certainly doing my work, doing my homework, and, you know, trying to lay the foundation for who I am now, for the artist that you know me as now.